y'all, it's still Pride and I am still very much ace and demi-romantic. I wanted to continue our conversation about ace and aromantic representation, specifically when it comes to acceptance. Welcome to the Nerdy Magical Girl podcast, and today we are talking about the romantic killer. Romantic Killer is an anime series that combines the elements of romance and comedy with a unique twist on poking fun at romantic tropes. Also, yes, this anime is exclusively on Netflix, but listen, it's a really, really good one, I promise. The story revolves around Anzu Hoshino, a high school girl who is obsessed with video games, chocolates, and her cat, Momohiki. She is straightforward, cares a lot about her friends, has a strong sense of justice, and cares very little how people perceive her. My hero. Fun fact about Anzu, she has no interest in romance and prefers to actually indulge in her hobbies. But her life takes an unexpected turn when she is visited by a little magical mischievous wizard named Riri, who informs Anzu that she has been chosen for a special program designed to increase the birth rate in their world by making her fall in love. That sounds more like a threat than an honor. Anzu is forced into a series of romantic scenarios designed by Riri, but has a strong resistance to the romantic vibes. These scenarios fall straight into stereotypical shoujo manga setups, like meeting a handsome transfer student, Tsukasa Kazuki, a childhood friend who returns into her life, Junta Hayame, and a rich popular boy who takes an interest in her, Hajiri Koganai. This reminds me of a shoujo romance anime that I really want to deep dive into, but that's for a different episode. ADHD brain be working, y'all. This series often pokes fun at romantic stereotypes used in manga, anime, and movies. But Anzu's strong-willed, no-nonsense personality leads her to sabotaging each of these romantic setups in hilarious ways. What Romantic Killer does so well is balancing humor with occasional moments of genuine connections, exploring themes of friendship, love, and personal growth. Anzu's resistance to romance and her determination to maintain her independence is very central to the anime. I believe Anzu to be on the ace aromantic spectrum. Her staying true to who she is and making her boundaries very clear, even in the face of Riri's persistence, really makes me feel that she is, because that's pretty much how I am as well. And it's okay to see yourself represented that way, you know? Taking away Anzu's three loves, chocolate, cats, and video games, didn't change her perspective. The only thing that really did was push her to stop being such a homebody and actually touch grass and go outside sometimes, which all gamers should really do. But to her core, she remained true to who she is. That wasn't changing. And that's one thing, when I explain to people that I'm ace and demi-romantic, that, they feel that that's something that needs to change, or that they need to fix me, or have you just not met the right person? It's just no, this is me. Accept me in all of my entirety. I think I'm pretty awesome sometimes. I do feel like Romantic Killer is very ace Aro Coded, especially when it comes to demi-romanticism. Not only for Anzu, but also for Kazuki as well. I won't spoil his plot because how it unwraps, especially for a comedy anime, was done very elegantly and handled very well. But remember the term from my last ace character deep dive when I brought up the term asexual? It has to do with asexuality in response to trauma, and I believe that he falls somewhere close on that spectrum. Now, that is not a term that is used lightly within the ace spectrum. That's why as a micro label, you don't really hear about it as much because it's very specific and it's very personal. I also believe him to be demi-romantic due to only really developing a form of deeper feelings after an emotional connection of some kind. In his case, it was trust with Anzu. But who knows where the story is going? Who could possibly know where it's going? For me, I think the way that La Roche actually talked about romance and romantic relationships is more akin to me.
I don't really date. This is gonna sound probably really sad, but I've always wanted to say this in a public space. I don't think that I was put on this earth for romantic love. I don't really feel or desire romantic love. I want to love the masses. So I know that sounds sad in a way, but ever since I was a little boy, I always had that in my head. So I've never been in a relationship, ever. I don't date, and every time I try, I'm reminded that I don't think this is for me.
One thing I personally found interesting about Romantic Killer, even though it's the comedic portion of the show, is Riri's persistence that Anzu has to change. That happens so much in real life, like I mentioned before, with the disrespectful excuses. Oh, you just haven't met the right one. That sounds made up, even though ace people have existed for centuries. Have you tried everything? Have you talked to your doctor? When again, having no libido can be a medical condition, but it has nothing to do with sexual attraction. You're black. You can't be ace. Please refer to my last video about that specific quip because I can't go back into detail about that. You're just looking for attention. I am an introvert. I literally run away from attention. The list of disrespect just goes on and on. And again, just because you may see an ace Aro person in a hetero-facing relationship does not make them the person any less queer. Gatekeeping queerness is really strange. I really like the perspective that Cody Dago Orions provided in one of their posts where they were talking about, like, if we're measuring queerness by how much discrimination and pain you endure, that's very weird. Somebody said, you know, if a person drowns in 30 feet of water versus 3 feet of water, that person still drowned. The end result is still the same. I may experience, as far as discrimination when it comes to being asexual and aromantic, it may not look like yours, but why are we measuring harm? Let's not do that, okay? You never know anybody's story. But also, if you're saying this to a black person, saying a black person doesn't like experience discrimination, you are weird. If you saw my unmoderated YouTube comments, dear God, okay?
So I've been seeing aspec folks talk about how they feel excluded from Pride and how they wish the LGBTQ plus community would let us in, would include us more. I totally get that sentiment, but let's not forget what Pride is all about. The spark of Pride was a community standing up for the dignity and space it knew it deserved. So we don't have to wait around for someone else to say that we belong at Pride or say that we can participate in Pride. We know our worth. We know what space we deserve, and there is nothing more Pride than demanding it.
I love that Anzu eventually stood up to Riri and was like, back off, bruh. It ain't happening and you're wasting your time. Again, Romantic Killer, it just feels ace Aro coded to me, and upon watching it, it became one of my favorites to rewatch. If you missed my last video where I spoke about Frieren and Mao Mao, I really suggest checking it out because I feel specifically when it comes to women in representation, when you talk about asexuality and aromanticism, I feel like Frieren and Mao Mao are definitely also my experience too, in addition to Anzu and Kazuki. Thank you so much for listening, and remember to like and subscribe, or if you're listening to the podcast, please give it a 5-star rating. Please, please, please. I really appreciate that. Again, thanks so much for listening, and as always, you have a magical day. Bye.